Welcome to Renewed and Radiant Podcast. This is where we have the real and raw conversations. So if you're ready to rise into the woman you were created to be, you're in the right place. And together we can design a life you love. All right. If you enjoy the real and the raw conversation, I have got one for you today. You are not going to want to miss this. I have with me today Marcia Earhart. She is a certified life, trauma, grief, brain, and mental health coach. She's a mediator, author, and heart sync minister. Her guidance is both professional but also personal. She's having navigated the death of two sons within the last 11 years, one of which was tragically murdered. She stands as a testament to God's faithfulness in the deepest valleys of grief and now leads others in healing. Marcia has a powerful new book called Gripping Grace in the Garden of Grief, which is raw and vulnerable chronicle of her devastating loss. So thank you for being here today, Marcia. I am excited to hear your story and your journey.
I'm excited to be here, Elsa. I'm looking forward to our very raw, real conversation.
That's the only kind I like anymore. Girl, I'm all about that. So
Me
that's what
too. Yes.
perfect. That's why I knew we were a great fit here. So, Marcia, will you please just go ahead and share your story with us?
Well, I think, our story from where we are right now started really as a child. I think we're called into the places that we're meant to serve in our life. We have a calling on us, and mine definitely was to be with and help people in their journey of being delivered and healing. And it's been who I've been most of my life. But things pivoted for me personally after the loss of my oldest son in 2014, who died in a tragic car accident. He was in law school living with us and died on our street. And our life in that moment imploded. We, as who we used to be, died also. And we gave ourselves permission to die in that place. And we set out with great intention to grieve and to express the mourning of the loss that we felt. And what we found, Elsa, there were such limitations as to places for people, a family, that there was nowhere we could go as a family and stay together for healing. So we set out in our own, and I had training prior to this in a lot of these aspects. And then the Lord showed me other areas that He gave me tools to incorporate along the way. And in 2017, the Lord gave me a vision, said, I need you to write all this down. And thus the Sterling Rose Sanctuary was birthed out of the loss of our son, Sterling, who was 21. And what the Lord said while the sheriffs were standing in our house in that moment, because I was dialoguing with the Lord while they were talking, because they'd already said what they needed to. And I am in the presence of the Lord. And He said, where sterling seeds have deposited, there will be much growth. As a parent, you don't know what that means. I mean, I'm like, okay, I trust what the Lord says because He's always been trustworthy to me. He's always produced whatever it is that He has spoken. So 2017, we set out to open the Sterling Rose Sanctuary for people who had lost a child, sibling, and grandchild. And we started working with people, and I'd already been working with families who had lost a child, started around 2015. We were being called and asked, could you come and be with? Would you mind speaking to this family? You know what it's like. Are you okay with that? And, when we were able, we would do that. And so, as we all know, 2020 hit us. So grief became not COVID, but grief became a pandemic. So we pivoted and we became the people who were boots on the ground for all mental health to come and be present for those with trauma and grief and to be able to hold space for them and walk them through. And as we're doing that, 2019 comes around and we're starting to walk in our new identity. And someone say that could be that's kind of long. In some aspects it was. Our youngest son really went into some mental health issues because of the tragic loss, the sudden loss of his oldest brother who was living with us. And it was not just his brother, it was his best friend, it was his mentor, it was his hero. He was his everything to him. And my children's childhood at that moment, I had a 12 and 16-year-old, but even my 16, their lives became hijacked to be able to be a child, to be able to be a teenager in the way that we perceive how life should be. And I say that kind of with the should be with quotes because I don't really think life should be any particular way. But if we're talking about the culture as a whole, how it's perceived to be, and that right there. So we were just coming into, and then our second son, Mark, who was 26, he was murdered with his girlfriend from an ex-boyfriend who flew in from another state to murder them in cold blood and left their 6-month-old baby to die.
Oh my word. Oh my goodness, Marcia, this is unbelievable.
Yeah. So then we had to set with intention again. And now we're talking about a murder and they couldn't find him. They didn't know who it was. And it took a year before they made an arrest. And not until 2025 of December last year was it even tried in court. And that was the first time he had actually been in court to be tried. We have continued to walk in the manner that is worthy to walk because life doesn't go on hold. It could, but if there's anything to learn, I think, in the midst of grief, it's that there's a brevity of life and you don't get lost in what you've lost.
Mm.
You do acknowledge what you've lost. We do miss that in which we have lost. However, we incorporate and we have to learn how to incorporate it with us forward.
Just have to stop you there, Marcia, because you're right, but that's a choice, isn't it?
It
Like
is.
we can choose, oh my goodness, like we can choose to stay in that. And I mean, in my mind right now, I'm thinking, I can't even imagine how you manage to pull yourself out of something like that. How you, and not that you did it on your own, but to make that choice, it's got to be just day after day after day. Like, does it feel like slugging through mud on certain days? Like, what's that like?
So I would say it's feels like at times you are in quicksand and your head is covered and the only thing you have is a straw that you're barely getting breath into.
I believe it. Yeah.
That is, but before that, in the moment of how I felt after that news was that Sterling to me was not just my son, he actually was one of my best friends. We had this incredible friendship and relationship. And he was an amazing person. He would have been the person I would have chosen to be my friend. And I did. I felt like all my skin had been peeled off of my body. And I was this walking, exposed, raw piece of flesh. And that's what it felt like. And I am a very outgoing person, but in that moment of life, I really came and pulled my family close, really made sure our boundaries were very well aligned with who could and could not. And people who are grieving need to understand they get to choose who gets to enter in the deeper recesses of that journey. Not everybody is welcome.
That's such a good point, Marcia. That is today's takeaway for sure. One of them is that you got to set boundaries. I mean, boundaries are important in every area of life, but when you're going through something like that, absolutely. And like you're saying, not everybody can come in because everybody's going to have an opinion. They're going to have words. Almost always they're trying to help or they say something to make everybody feel better, but that's not necessarily what you need and protecting that and be, especially when because you had two younger children. Is that right?
I had 2 at home, and then we had 2 other children. We had a total of 5 children.
Okay.
So my son who was murdered, he lived near us. He was coming over for support and encouragement. We were, with him and multiple moments. Our other son, he had took off running after Sterling had passed, had been on this, running from his own pain, running because people have choices. And we kind of knew how he was doing, but he really wasn't in a relationship ongoing with us because he was running.
Yeah.
That's how he was dealing with his grief. And the rest of us were coping with our grief. And we were applying tools and processing. My second oldest son, Mark, was angry with God. He was furious that Sterling had passed. So we're working with him, working through his anger and helping him. Hey, it is okay to bring your anger, to shake your fist. God can handle all of that.
Yeah.
Be honest, be open. Don't shut it in because your body's going to keep the score. It's going to end up taking in the pain in other places. You're going to have physical aspects that start manifesting. And so we were very intentional. And I want to go back to the boundaries of individuals, because when in grief, people are overwhelmed. They don't realize you do have the authority to say who enters in and who does not, who you entrust your story to. And I want to make it clear as to why we were particular, because we aligned ourselves with people that would speak truth in our lives, that knew how to encourage and love us where we were, that did not, I had to get away from those with platitudes, because platitudes are not helpful to the griever. It's only helpful to the one who's speaking to the griever, because they're uncomfortable with grief. So the people who operated from that or wanted to give advice or wanted to speak in, and this, God was so good. He just kind of put a protective covering, and I would hear it, but it would bounce off because it was not for my soul to take in. And what happens with people who are grieving is when people are speaking that, and people, I need you to know that if you're speaking into someone who's grieving, speak life into them and say, hey, I am present with you and we're going to make this through together. Do not tell them you're never going to heal, but you'll find some purpose. Don't tell them things that speak a death sentence, because there are these people who speak that, well, we know you're never going to get over. Who said? My God says that he came to heal, and he heals all things. And yes, I will. So whatever is spoken to you and what you speak, our bodies line up with. So if I am speaking life, and Elsa said a while ago, we choose. So in my book, I have a page on the tree of death, what comes from it, and a page on the tree of life, what you're living in on each of those. And it's a choice every day, whether I'm choosing to exist in the tree of death. Okay, that's existing. I hope you heard me. It's existing. It's not living.
Yes.
I've died too. I died, and I'm not allowing myself to be resurrected.
Yeah.
I've died to all the other relationships around me. I've died to, oh, woe is me. I have become the victim of.
Yes, yes, good point. And easy, I'm sure, to get stuck in that. That would be pulling at you all the time, I'm sure. And there's probably moments, but we have a choice, like you said.
Well, we do. And that tree of death is where if I could have, should have, would have comes in. Well, first of all, none of those should ever be said in any given situation after the fact, because first of all, I'm not sovereign. I could have changed nothing. And none of us can.
That's right.
And I think that's part of the letting go, that we are not in control, which I know people would have a hard time with that, because I used to be very controlling. So I've worked on that, and God really delivered me from a spirit of control.
So freeing. So freeing.
It is so freeing. And I've never desired to be in control again. Therefore, that's why you're hearing this version of Marcia today, because I knew and know I could have done nothing to preserve either one of my sons to still be here. However, what I can say is I can choose to live from the tree of life, where there's a sustainable, amazing life, because I have other children. And not that I am at all dismissing the losses of my own children that are gone, but that I have other people that I want to invest and love well and be a part of their life and enjoy them, but also to be able to let them see that yes, I am grieving, but I know the one who holds me.
Yeah.
And I have hope in the words that have been spoken so that I can breathe again, move again, and live again in my created design. And I didn't say it happens immediately.
Mm.
It's a process.
Yeah.
But every day there's a sense of renewal in the
Mm.
exchange of releasing and receiving.
Wow. So powerful, Marcia. So powerful. I feel like everyone needs to get your book, how you've journeyed through that to grow and to be able to come to the place where you're at now. And I just really appreciate that I always say that God will use our journey to lead us to our destiny if we allow Him. And you clearly have done that. And you are helping so many people through something that most people can't relate to, but those that can really, really need your wisdom, your coaching, what you offer to get through these types of times.
Well, I think we all need someone.
Yes.
And I think about this often. If all of us allowed for those unbearable places in our life to be spots for a catapult for new birth, I can only imagine what that would be if everybody allowed themselves to come and resonate and to redefine their lives instead of defining. See, grief should not define, but redefine. And that's where people get lost.
So good. That's so good. Grief should not define, but redefine. That is powerful. Marcia, will you please, before we go any further, just share how can people get your book? How can they reach out to you?
Gripping Grace in the Garden of Grief is on Amazon, and it is also on our website, which is www.northsterlingrosesanctuary.us. Um, so they can get it either place. And the book in and of itself, Elsa, is really meant for people to go through and examine their own journey to look at, where am I in the tree of death? What do I need to be surrendering? Where am I in the tree of life? What other areas in my life could be of value to live in other areas of the tree of life? And so it's really about their journey, introspectively checking in with themselves and having the resources available to them through the book. And then, of course, if they want us in person to have the resources, they can reach out. But the desire is, and there's a prayer in the book that starts with the head, and it starts with releasing all of the pain and the trauma. And we start in the brain and move through, because the brain, our greatest battle is from our mind.
Yes, in
So,
everything.
yeah. And so, whatever we're putting in our mind, or we're allowing for our mind to think or speak. So, and I want y'all to know something. I didn't come up with this prayer on my own. This is what the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit prayed over me.
Mm.
And I wrote out a very extended version because I had a depth of understanding when they were praying these things. So I wrote it out for everyone to be able to pray that. But the Father, Son, Holy Spirit would pray that every morning over me and every night
Wow.
when I lay.
Amazing.
Yes. Because I just said, Lord, I need you. And he said, I've got you, but I'm going to start praying over your mind and your body to come in synchronicity with me. And he did. And that there's healing. And so I was visualizing, because it's very visual. And I would really encourage people reading to visualize that in which he is doing to heal. It's amazing.
Wow. So powerful. So powerful. Marcia, I feel like some of the things that I'm getting from this so far, and feel free to add to this, but number one is about setting boundaries. Always important. And I talk about them often here, but especially when you're going through grief, but also traumatic grief like that, and boundaries for, especially if you have a close family, and protecting that, and just being really mindful of what you're going through, and that you need to protect your family and yourselves at that time especially. And
Yes.
then also what I hear you saying of how your different children grieved in different ways. And
Yes.
this is something that I've had to remind myself of several times, as we've had, losses in our family as well. People grieve in different ways. And so, we can look at someone and be like, why is she doing that? Or, why is he not all the things. And it's like, you know what? People grieve in different ways. So we can't judge other people by the way they grieve. You're grieving the way you're grieving, and people grieve in different ways. So remembering that as you're going through it, because it can be easy to look at people and judge them if they're grieving differently than us, but to remember it's important not to do that. And then also that it's a choice, and to, in your book, especially getting the book, I would say is important. And going through that, the tree of death, the tree of life, whether you're going through grief or traumatic grief at the moment or not, just generally in life, like this is such a powerful tool to go through that and see, hey, because we always have room where we can grow and improve. Really, I love this. This is amazing.
Well, and I want to add two things. One, everyone needs to give themselves permission to grieve. Most of the time, when people do not give themselves permission to grieve, they go into function where fight, flight, freeze, or fawn starts happening. And they feel they've put that grief in a nice, tidy box and it's dealt with. They've packed it up and they're good to go. No, you're not. You need to learn how to grieve and you need to give yourself permission to grieve. But in giving yourself permission to grieve, you need to make sure, again, in the boundary, you're around people who also are giving you permission to grieve and not stifling your grief, because it sends mixed messages to your soul and to your mind when you're around someone who's now putting a barrier up. So these are things that we really work with and talk with our clients through. And we have to work with other people in their grief. When we are a family, we are a community that is sharing in a loss. We have to learn how to do that. Elsa, you brought it up beautifully. We don't all grieve the same way. Our family was kind of split. Two of us were internal processors and two were external processors. So the internal processors get very overwhelmed after a while by the external processors. I knew to speak to this because what would have happened is it could have pushed and divided, and relationships could have completely melted down and gone completely awry and never come back. Because it's too much. Like I'm trying to deal with my own grief. And now you're sitting and talking out loud how you're processing all yours. And I'm over here just being quiet. And so I would say, okay, we have two of are out loud. Two of us are internal. And I actually happen to be an internal processor. Even though I'm very outgoing, I am an internal processor. And so because I was processing everything with the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I was going to them. I was with them all day, dialoguing about this exposure, this pain, this loss. I mean, I felt half of me had been amputated off of me.
Yes.
And so, and there really was not a person that could have done this with. It needed to be the one who created me, who loves me, who knows how to deliver me, who knows how to speak the sanctifying life and of healing so that I can reset again in the way that he created.
Yeah.
So it was that. And the other part of giving yourself permission, please get a journal and have a journal of gratitude. It is so important to give gratitude. Find the things you can be thankful for and you can give praise for, and you can really take in. And I just have to say, immediately when Sterling passed, the next morning, we hit the floor on our knees and said to God, please do not let a spirit of grief come and consume us. Let us grieve with hope, but let us see beauty every day.
Wow.
And let us see it so that we know it. And I wrote down, he showed up every day. Because what he wants is for us to know there is beauty in the feeling of this brokenness that we have. But what the enemy wants to say is it's all broken and there's nothing beautiful. And that's back to the death tree, that it's dark and it's sucking life out of you to keep you in that darkness.
Yeah.
So to look for the beauty, oh my goodness, the trees, the birds. I mean, felt like there were so many amazing moments, and I love to take pictures. My book has pictures that the Lord gave me for each of the outcries of my heart every day.
Amazing. Amazing. So, Marcia, for someone that's listening to this today and is thinking, I feel like I'm in that dark place. I just can't seem to dig my way out. I want to be on the other side like she is, but I don't know what to do. What's one practical step that you would say to someone like that that could help them get going to where they want to be?
First and foremost, I want to address that in the manner that I address it in the sanctuary. If this has been a prolonged period of time, I would say you need to get to a doctor because we need to have a discussion to see if you are depressed. We don't ever want to overlook that because that tree of death can take people into suicidal ideation because it separates and builds on that separation. The first step is that you go and talk to, and in that there's a game plan. I am going to be intentional to reach out for healing, not just a medical doctor, but then to reach out to us as someone to walk you through, or to someone else that has the tools for what you're walking through. So, Elsa, I want your audience to understand we deal with all trauma, all grief. We deal with sexual ritual abuse. We have a lot of it that comes through the sanctuary. We deal with emotional, spiritual, physical abuse, financial abuse. We deal with the loss of dreams. It's a very
Wow.
real thing. Some people are facing their life and going, this isn't at all what I thought. And they're struggling with these dreams aren't ever going to be fulfilled. And so there's loss of that, loss of friendships, loss of the relationships we thought we would have with people in our lives at this journey, our children, our grandchildren, friends, church. I mean, whatever it is. So we work all over the US, and we work in 7 countries with people. So anyone who is struggling, what I want you to know is if you're in that dark place, there is light. Just please reach out to that person who can help you walk back into the fullness of light, because it does not have to stay dark.
I love that. That's perfect. That's so good. Just reach out to the person that can help you. Just
Yes.
put the hand up. Put the hand up out of that quicksand and
Yes. Yes.
ask for help. I love
Yes.
that. Marcia, this has been so powerful and amazing. And I know that I want to learn more, and I'm excited to read your book. And I'm sure my listeners are as well. So thank you for sharing your story. I mean, the little bit here today, and using your journey to help others. This is amazing what you're doing. It really is. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing. It's incredible.
Well, it is an honor for me, in particularly, to be entrusted with people's greatest treasures, which are those traumatic places, those losses, the places that they have grieved, the places where they felt like they would never come back, and to see them be resurrected and to now walk in the newness. And it is holy ground, and I take it very seriously, and I hold it very close to my heart in great gratitude that someone would give me the gift of that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, we have to wrap it up today, unfortunately, because I feel like this could go on for a long time. It's such an interesting conversation. But Marcia, let's just finish on a little lighter note. I'll give you some rapid fire questions and to
Okay.
help us get to know you a little bit better. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
I would have to say Africa.
Oh, which part?
I was in Kenya and in Limuru, and
Okay.
we went kind of all around, but Mombasa, just some beautiful, and it was just, I loved Africa. It changed my life. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, we were in Kenya too at an orphanage. Oh, just amazing, amazing. Yeah. Okay. Favorite healthy food?
Blueberries, wild blueberries from Maine.
So good. I mean, I haven't had the specific ones from Maine, but now if I ever get there, I'm going to definitely have some. Awesome. And then what's something that might surprise us to know about you?
I love to dance, and I love to go to the beach. They're 2 things I love to do. And yes, I grew up dancing with my mom and dad and with my dad, and so I love to dance. And
That's
dancing actually is one of the things that helped heal me as well.
I believe that. Yes. That's incredible. Thank you for this today, Marcia.
Thank
This
you,
has
Elsa.
been so good. Love how you're sharing your story and helping people. And yeah, thank you for all that you're doing. And do you have anything that you want to say before we wrap up today?
I just want everyone to know that they all can breathe again, move again, live again. Nothing's preventing them, but maybe the fact that they haven't been intentional to set out to do it yet. So I just want to encourage everyone to go and live their best life.
Yeah, yes, yes. Okay, this has been incredible. And if this has spoke to you today, please share it with someone that you know needs the encouragement, the hope today, because we have all walked through some types of grief or will be for sure. Just like, share, and let us know what was your biggest takeaway from today.